This video is going to be a bit different because it's not going to demonstrate how to solve a particular problem in Excel, but actually to solve a problem with the Excel program. In 2007, when Microsoft revamped the entire Office interface from the traditional drop-down menus and toolbars into the tabs and ribbons that we know today, there's a common feature in Excel that's been somewhat buried and not easy to get to, and it's always bothered me. What I'm referring to is the centering of your data on the page when printed. Microsoft always seems to give us multiple ways of doing the same thing, but in this case, they appear to have only given us one way to solve this problem. So let me demonstrate what I'm talking about. I have this table and I want to print it. I go to File and then Print. And as with most Excel print jobs, the data is pushed into the upper left-hand corner of the page. We have many features here that allow us to customize the way our print job is rendered, but the one feature that's missing is the centering on the page feature. It's always baffled me that it's missing because we have lots of room down here in the interface to add this, and yet it's missing. What we have to do is click this link that says Page Setup to open the Page Setup dialog box, then navigate to the Margins tab, and it's here where we have the Center on Page options. So if we check horizontally, the data is centered left to right but starts at the top of the page. If we check vertically, it's centered up and down but starts flush left. And of course, if we check both, then the data is centered both up and down and left and right. There is another way to get to these options, and that's by going up to Page Layout and clicking one of these extended options buttons at the bottom right of the control groups. So if I were to pick this one, this opens the same Page Setup dialog box, and I can go down to Margins and choose the same options. But either way you get here, it's several clicks. So here's the 2025 Christmas gift I have for you. What if we could modify the ribbon to look like this? Wouldn't it be nice to have the horizontal and vertical centering options available directly on the ribbon, just like the grid line and the headings options? We have the room on the ribbon in most cases. Let's use it. I'll show you in a moment how to integrate this add-in into Excel. It's very easy. But just so you can see what it will do for us, I have 4 sheets here, and each sheet has the exact same table on it. But in some cases, I want the table in the upper left on the printout, but in some cases, I want it centered left to right, but start at the top, some cases centered up and down, but start flush left, and other times centered directly in the middle of the page. So in this case, this rendition is when I want it in the upper left corner, so I'm not using either of these directional options. But if I go to the horizontal tab, I'll go up and check horizontally, and that has activated the same feature that we saw in the Page Setup dialog box. Now let's go ahead and do the rest of them, and then we'll look at the results. We'll go to the sheet called Vertical, and I'll use the vertically option. And lastly, we'll go to the Both tab, and I'll check both of them. To see the results, we'll go up to File and Print, and I'll tell it to print the entire workbook. So we can see on page 1, we didn't use either of those options. The table's in the upper left. Page 2, we use the horizontal option, so it's centered at left and right and started at the very top of the page. Page 3, we chose vertically, which centers it up and down and starts flush left. And finally, page 4 centers it in both directions. And if we were to go into that old school page setup method, we can see that those center on page controls are set based on the ribbon settings. So here we are back in normal Excel. On the Both sheet, horizontal and vertical are checked. On the vertical sheet, vertical is checked. On the horizontal sheet, horizontal is checked. And on the Neither sheet, neither are checked. So these controls are page specific. I've also included, if you wish to get to the old school dialog box, a launch control in the lower right-hand corner for the extended options. And that will open the Page Setup dialog box where you can then switch to the Margins tab. With what I've built, there is one small issue that you need to be aware of. I do not profess to be an expert at ribbon customization, especially the built-in ribbons. But anything that you check or uncheck in the ribbon will also affect the center on page controls. The issue is that if you change the center on page controls within the Page Setup dialog box, notice that I just unchecked these. These are still checked because I haven't hit OK. But when I hit OK, the checkboxes do not reflect the current state of the feature. The reason for this is the checkboxes in the ribbon can execute a call to the center on page options in the Page Setup dialog box to change them. But the center on page features in the Page Setup will not execute a call to the ribbon to change the ribbon's state. Those types of function calls, like if I were to go to Sheet and check grid lines, when I hit OK, it checks the print options for grid lines in the ribbon. But that's being done at a core program level of Excel, which I don't have access to. I would like this feature to be as robust as possible. So if any of you know a way to have the center on page features in the dialog box change these checkbox options in the ribbon, please put it down in the comments, because I would love to make a version 2 of this that would then, in my opinion, be perfect. But until that day comes, you probably don't want to use these options in the dialog box because they won't reflect accurately in the ribbon. But the whole point was to not have to come here in the first place. So it's kind of okay that we just limit ourselves to the controls in the ribbon. So again, I can check horizontally, I can check vertically, if I do a print preview, and I'm centered in both directions. Here is how to add this feature into your ribbon. When you download the zip file from the link in the video description, open the zip file, and you'll see the page centering checkbox.xlam file. This is an add-in module. You can place this file anywhere on your computer and then browse out to it in the next step, but Microsoft does actually have a special add-ins folder that serves as like a central repository for all of your add-ins. I'm going to show you where that folder is, and that's where I'm going to put it. But you could create your own folder for your add-ins. Just be mindful not to move or rename that folder once you've added it to Excel. So I'm going to right-click on this and copy it. The location of Microsoft's built-in add-ins folder is located by going to the C drive, then going to the users folder, and then go into the subfolder that has your login name. And if there are multiple people using the same PC, you'll have to do this for each user's folder. Now, once you're in the users folder, the next folder we need to go into is a hidden folder. Instead of going through all of the legal maneuvers to display that folder, go in, add the file, and then get out and re-hide, there's a bit of a hack you can do. If you go up into the address bar where you see your path, give it a click, and this will show the more old school DOS path style. After your username folder, we're going to type in a backslash and then the word app data, one word. Hit enter, and we are now in a hidden folder called app data. Our next step is to go into the roaming folder, scroll down to Microsoft, then here is the add-ins folder. Now let's take that copied XLAM file and paste it. With that file in the add-ins folder, we'll go back to Excel, go up to File, this takes us into the Backstage, down to Options, Add-ins. At the bottom, we want to make sure that this dropdown is set to Excel add-ins, not COM or XML, and then click Go. To add this page centering feature, we'll click Browse, and this will default to that add-ins folder. If you stored the add-ins file in some other folder, you'll have to browse out to that location. So we'll pick this XLAM file, hit OK, and now with this feature checked, we hit OK again, and we now have the page centering feature in our system-based ribbon. If you don't like this feature and you want to remove it, just go back to File, Options, Add-ins, click Go for the Excel add-ins, and just uncheck the box. Hit OK, and the feature's been removed. So Merry Christmas and enjoy your free page centering add-in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and download the add-in from the link in the video description. Thank you for watching, and remember at BCTI, the learning never stops.